Namaskar, hello. I'm Ashok Vyas. Welcome to second episode of Money and Prosperity. And now as we move forward today, we will be speaking with Paresh Shah, CFP in this show. Money and prosperity becomes important for all of us. And to connect with someone like Paresh Shah, who is the managing principal of Paresh Shah Partners LLC, and he is a certified financial planner and wealth strategist with experience of over 17 years. He has helped individuals and business as co-create innovative financial strategies. Paresh ji is a licensed CPE presenter. He has educated CPAs as they guide their clients on investments, life, disability and long-term care insurance. He specializes in pension and profit sharing plans, asset protection, estate planning and business succession planning. Let me also recollect with you, Paresh ji graduated as a chemical engineer and he's honors graduate from the prestigious IIT at Kharagpur, India. He is a 2016 honoree for Long Island Business News Leaders in Diversity Awards. He resides in town of Ricksville in Long Island with his wife Shimul and their son Shamik, who is a junior at Stony Brook University. Now, having talked about his family, because we are talking about your family and how money and prosperity helps us in being a happy family. So, first of all, I want to welcome you and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Ashokji. Thank you for the very, very warm welcome. Really appreciate it and really happy to be here this morning.
Let us spread happiness with your help, Paresh ji. And in the last episode, we talked about how prosperity in USA has been affected by traditional financial planning. I remember we talked a little bit about what you meant by traditional financial planning and why we need to see things differently, and probably that is what we say as out-of-box thinking. Yeah. Let's talk today about the factors that affect a family as far as traditional financial planning is concerned. In order to help us understand, can you name a few?
Yes. So, Ashokji, first of all, in the last episode we talked about how the original model is just about saving and then accumulating the money and then spending it in retirement. And we spoke about how that model is not really perfectly working out. So we've identified a series of wealth issues that need to be taken into account when we do financial planning or money planning for any family. And there are several of these steps which a person can take on their own, and if they feel that they need the help or the guidance of a professional, then they should seek it out. But some of these issues are like savings issues, liability issues, or insurance issues, investment issues. These are just some names out of the total 15 issues that we want to work with and help our clients or see them straightened out. It's not necessary that everything needs our help. Lots of things can be attained by a person by looking at it himself. So
I think when you're talking about these issues and you mentioned about savings issues, and some of our viewers must be thinking that what are you going to tell me about saying the amount of money that I earn and the amount of money that I need on monthly basis. So it is only that space where I can determine what to save, whether I can save or not. So how a financial planner would help me on this issue?
Shruti, that's a great question. I'd like to kind of first of all, talk a little about savings from a financial planning perspective. A little more than just the basic about income minus expense, savings, and put it aside. So, we go through this process of education, and when we come out of college educated, and then for some of us we even go through vocational training and on the job experience, and when we've gone through all of that, we reach a point where we go out daily and we exchange our skill or our work or our experience, knowledge, expertise, and in exchange for currency. Now when that currency comes into hand, so at the beginning of life, just when we are stepping out of our education mode into our work mode, we are kind of going into a phase which we can call that's a peak of our potential, right? And then once we are past that peak, each year we spend that and we get currency. And now from that currency we make various expenses and we put aside savings. Now you know that those savings will grow over a time based on the investments that we do. So as these savings grow, there reaches a point in a person's life when the savings are enough to throw off income such that the rest of life can be managed without working. That means you going to work is now a choice for you. That is the point which we call the point of financial independence. Now the longest time that we have to reach it, I mean the earlier you reach it, the better it is, but the longest time that a person has to reach it is till they retire or till they stop working. So at that point they must have enough savings there which can be exchanged for income so that the rest of the life goes comfortably. So that is from savings, beginning of savings as a perspective, I mean, just to kind of throw it that, we're not just looking at a daily thing versus we're looking at it from the whole global perspective of reaching that point of financial independence.
Financial independence, and the way you said, especially I think many of our viewers also must have felt that if that moment comes in my life where I don't have to do work and whatever I have saved, it helps me sustain and maintain the kind of quality standards that I have lived with. But I go back to this saving, and you said saving issues, so I'm still not very clear as to what do you exactly mean by saving issues.
Let me give you an example of a case that we worked with. So there was a couple that I met, and the husband, he was a plastic surgeon, rather he is still a plastic surgeon. The wife is a teacher, and she was working because the kids had grown up, they were in school, but still she had time on her hands. So she wanted to be productive. So she was a school teacher making about $100,000 a year. But he, as a plastic surgeon, was making $1 million a year. And as we sat through the first meeting, we were discussing about various issues and various things and what they like. But I could sense that there was some kind of uneasiness in the conversation. There was a reason why they had asked us to kind of meet with them or be with them. And when we were talking, I mean, I was like, what's going on? There's something is wrong. And it's like they were trying to hold back. They couldn't say something. Eventually, I just asked them point blank, there's something that's bothering you here and something that's keeping you awake at night. Why don't you share that with me? Wife looks at the husband. Husband nods. Wife goes, okay. And she goes in and brings in a pile of statements. And they had about $700,000 in credit card debt.
How that can happen, Paresh? It's unbelievable in terms of someone who is making that kind of money. Why should they get into this sort of situation where they cannot pay their own credit cards? I mean, since you are saying, I know it must be a fact, but someone who is earning $1 million and they have this much of credit card debt?
That itself was a shock to me. So, this is one of those extreme cases which we saw, but it was there right in front of me, Ashokji, that, this person had so much debt. And then when, we started talking about it, and I'm not talking about what this person did, but I'd like to kind of keep that privacy there. But I'll talk about some of the factors. Like, one of the things is keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, people are spending more than they are earning. And I'll actually take a step back and talk about, in our country, US, at one point the savings rate was 0. In countries like Japan, culturally they save a very high percentage of their income. But here we are more like, we spend the money. If we have the income, we spend the money. There are so many people who live paycheck to paycheck. And the biggest thing about that stems from the fact that, you want to own, you want to buy the latest thing. You want to keep up with your neighbors. If somebody got a certain thing, a certain equipment, you want that same equipment. Now, one might say that, okay, that is a desire driven movement forward, and the desire driven movement forward is not an excuse for not saving. But then there comes other things like I'll use a technical term, this is planned obsolescence, and you might wonder what planned obsolescence is. But let's take your cell phone. You started first with those big phones that were there. Then you went to the smaller phones. Then you went to the flip phones where you could just talk with somebody. Then you went to phones which had just basic texting, or which had some kind of mechanism whereby internet was available. Then eventually we came to a smartphone, and today we are at a point where it's like a mini computer in your hand with the whole world at your fingertips, literally speaking. You can do practically anything using your phone. So now, when we're talking about that, think about it. Along the way, there are two types of people. There is one type of person who's spending to upgrade the phone every time to get the best possible phone. But then there is another type of person who is just upgrading because otherwise the old phone does not work.
So, Paresh, sorry to interrupt you because we just have 2 minutes left. I want us to understand from you, where should someone start if you find yourself in this situation?
Well, Ashokji, the first point is, as you said, the simple thing is what you earn minus what you spend is what you save, right? So the first point in savings is creating a proper budget. That means you take into account there are 4 categories of expenses that we come upon. We call them recurring and non-recurring expenses, and then within each of these there is discretionary and non-discretionary. So just to quickly give you example, recurring expenses like our rent, and that is non-discretionary, you have to do, or mortgage. Recurring expense which may be non-recurring expense which may be out of your control is like healthcare expenses. A sudden problem comes in. But then there is also like things like vacation, which we'll call a discretionary expense, or upgrading your car, or those are discretionary. So we divide your budget in that way. Then you go deep down and you try to find out where you can save, not by cutting on lifestyle, but just by tailoring your expenses properly. Simple example, maybe you can refi your mortgage and cut down your monthly expense. I'm just giving one example, but these are some of the things that can be done in order for us to help improve your savings, which should be about 15 to 20% of your gross income, and get it to that level.
No, I think the last point that you made is like a mantra. I don't know whether everybody have taken care of their financial structure with this idea that save 15 to 20% of the gross earning. That's a target which we should keep with us, and there are more ideas as well as some practical call that guidelines or help which can come our way from Paresh ji because of over 17 years of experience in helping his clients. Paresh ji, I also want to share your number again with our viewers, which is 516-268-3446. 516-268-3446. I was just reminded of some of the ad we hear on radio where they keep on repeating the phone number, but we won't do that here. And we'll see you again next fortnight in Money and Prosperity. I like the name of the show also.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashokji. See you viewers in a fortnight.
Thanking Paresh ji and thanking all of you for being with us. This is Shah.